Alright, first I can start by saying all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth with sincerity. Now, this week's motivation, Slakia, is based on institutional racism. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. This is institutional racism, also known as institutionalized racism, is a form of racism expressed in the practice of social and political institutions, right? Society and its institutions, from different jobs and stuff. Political institutions, also governmental institutions, governmental jobs and shit. Institutional racism is also racism by individuals or informal social groups governed by behavioral norms that support racist thinking and foment active racism, like these white supremacist groups. Whether it says it is reflected in disparities regarding wealth, income, criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, political power, and education, among other things. Slakia. Alright, now I'm going through some of these real quick. Alright, now we're going to go through the first one. It says wealth. Let me see. Wealth is the abundance of valuable resources or valuable material possessions. This includes the core meaning as held in the originating Old English word will, which is from an Indo-European word stem. It says an individual, community, region, or country that possesses an abundance of such possessions or resources to the benefit of the common good is known as wealthy. All right. Now, you can start with the Rothschilds. Esau is very good at getting wealthy by stealing. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this scripture. Okay, now this ain't the scripture. Okay, yeah, now I can use the scripture. So give me 1 second. So we got two of them. Alright, this is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, right? And they had the power to do what? It says, and they covered fields, right? So Esau, it said, Esau put the money towards taking over lands, man, and specifically our land, Israel, man, and then calling it their own by what's called the British Mandate of Palestine, and take them by violence in houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, right? And they oppressed this man. How did they do that? They actually took over, when they took over our lands, they took over all our wealth, man. And then the money that they took from us, they used to keep us down and proclaim that they were us, man. So this wealth goes out to the elites. The elites did this, man. And it says to benefit of the common good is known as wealthy, right? And they're not using it for no benefits and no common good, man. They're using it to keep us in slavery. They made corporations, companies, and shit. Invested money into them to put us in slavery, man. And have us work long hours at work and stuff. It's gonna get farther into it as I finish reading the document and stuff. And I'm gonna try to put some documentaries with it also through the spirit of Shah. But yeah, man, wealth Esau, and then not only, they took everything, and, they not letting us get none of it back, and they keeping us down by it also, man. Okay, let's see if you will. Income, let's see what income says. Income is the consumption and savings opportunity gained by an entity within a specific time frame, which is generally expressed in monetary terms. Right, income. They rule in the income market, man. They bring in way more income than us. Let me see what it says. And savings opportunity gained by an entity within a specific time frame. Right, and they say got all types of savings opportunities because, a lot of Esau income, what do you do with it? He invests in it, man. Okay, let me just go there. Criminal justice is the system of practices and institutions of governments that directed at upholding social control, deterring and mitigating crime, and sanctioning those who violate laws with criminal penalties and rehabilitation efforts. Right, in the criminal justice system, Esau runs the criminal justice system, the prisons. They keep us down through their prisons and through their three strikes you're outlaws, and you know the, uh, the prisons is more stacked with Black, Latins, and Native Americans than any other nation in this world, man. And they got white people as the wardens in these prisons, and they don't let people go who they know not going to, because they got us down to a T, man. They don't let people go who they know not going to come back, who not going to be a good investment while they're in prison, man, because they make money off these prison systems, man. Don't know Jakes on no criminal justice departments, make no criminal justice laws, none of that shit. Employment, employment. They running the employment. They the ones who hiring. They the hiring managers, man. They the supervisors, man. Jake and them can barely get jobs in the time we're living in. They got Jake and them depending on this right here, housing, man. You know, and what else? Temp services. That's why they came up with temp services and shit, man. For Jake ass. The Latins rule the temp service world right now. They the ones who uh, uh more so into the temp services and you know keeping America going through the temp services. But who ruling over them? With that, the white man. Because Issachar wanted to come over from Mexico because they wasn't making a lot of money. So they came over, they established the temp service for them so the illegals and all them can work and keep this society rolling, right? They don't get no head positions in employment, just like the blacks. We don't get no head positions. If we do get head positions, it don't be nowhere near as much money or payment or what we bring in um, matching these Edomites, man. Housing, we always on housing. All our women on housing. They gave our women housing. Let me look into that real quick. Housing, welfare. Hold on, let me get that scripture too. Cause Esau actually got us dependent on his system, man. And they set the system up just to have us dependent. I think that was in Ecclesiastes. Yeah, I'll get that later. Let me just continue. Housing generally refers to the social problem of ensuring that members of society have a home in which to live. Right, and with the housing and the racism that goes on with the housing, they got it to where only the women can get housing, and not only the women, um, we don't get the best neighborhoods when we do get housing. You know, the women they got it for what women and kids. The man doesn't get the housing, and then you can only get the housing if you meet certain criteria and shit. But that's even a hassle, man. Because the white folks, they getting everything, man. Whether this is a house or some other kind of dwelling, lodging, or shelter. Many governments have an administration section that deals with housing, such as the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Right. So, as far as the housing situation go, they got it to where Jake and them, they since they own the employment, they get to determine who gets hired. And Jake and them don't really get hired, so they be having to go on housing. But they have it to where they get it's really of the Lord, but Jake and them can't get houses. That's what actually make them become poor. Because the white men get to choose if they want to give you a house or not, and how they feel and shit. And not even necessarily certain criteria that you have to meet, even though you have to meet them. But majority of them cases be based off straight racism, and that's easy to tell because I just said it. The black man don't get no housing. That's basically a group for men and women. I mean for women, Salakia. Not the Negro man, Negro Latin man. It's all for women, man. And all right, next is healthcare. Jake them don't get no good healthcare. Even when they got good jobs, they don't be getting. When they do get healthcare, they don't get the proper attention from the doctors and stuff, man. They get a poor like Medicaid and what else? There's some other names. Obamacare. They don't give. And then when we do get healthcare, we gotta pay high ass rates and shit, man. The money that get taken out the check and shit. And then not only that, let me see. When we go to the doctor, going to healthcare is a maintenance or improvement of health via the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of disease, illness, injury, right, and other physical and mental impairments in human beings. Right, we don't get good health care, man. The white people get the good health care. They get the good doctors. They get the doctors that cure the diseases that they made, from AIDS to cancer, so on and so forth. At these doctors, they just let Jake die, man. The doctor don't get to treat them to heal them or nothing, man. They treat them to have them coming back to the doctor to create more problems. When a white person goes to the doctor, they get more so like a physician. They give you physicians that the physicians are actually the ones that really heal you, man. But more so the Lord's physicians, because Esau, it's still money involved with that situation, so they're not gonna give you all understanding. But as far as the healthcare goes, Jake them don't be getting no good healthcare, man. At the dentist fuck your teeth up. The medicines be all fucked up. All right, political power and social science and politics. Power is the ability to influence or outright control the behavior of people. The term authority is often used for power perceived as legitimate by the social structure. Power can be seen as evil or unjust, but the exercise of power is accepted as endemic to humans as social beings. Okay. Right, so as far as political power or society power, Esau running and controlling all of that, man. Esau, what they got secret societies. That's where the main power lies in. The secret societies is funding these governmental groups and stuff of that nature, which is the government. The government funds these programs that the secret societies have. That the secret societies prop up and shit. And prime example or names would be like the Rockefeller family, man. Though they got control over a lot of that shit as far as when it comes to governmental powers and uh, orchestrating laws and creating new businesses, and they put their money where their mouth is, man. Jake, as far as what only type of little political power they might have when they or some type of senator or something. More so, they'd be up in what's called the Boule Society or the Black Caucus Society. Those societies, man. Jake them, like the scripture say, that's as far as they gonna get. And what is it? He say, Boule Society is the adversary to the king. I forgot how the saying goes. But they got it to where the Negroes and they blacks and they political power through their societies. So you got to be in their societies in order to hold political power. They got it to where Jake and them, can never, get up above them. Basically, Jake and them is always up under them, up under Esau, or we're always up under Esau when it comes to any type of power and any type of organization anywhere, basically. But let me get this scripture because I'm just rambling on, but y'all get the message, man. Jake and them ain't in no seats and no political power. They if they is in the seats of political power, they Uncle Toms and they up under these white people when it comes to the seat. The white man is ultimately the one that's making all the decisions, not Jake. They set Jake up as pacifiers when they be having these political positions and shit, man. But this is Genesis chapter 49. Slacking. Genesis chapter 49, verse 8. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Right. And that's the point right there. Jake gonna be always up under this white man. They're not gonna never get up above him. Why? Because those are curses unto us. Ultimately, this whole institutional racism is one big curse, man. Let me see. Right, man. So yeah, Jake ain't got no type of political power in the society, man. And the Lord set it up to be like that, man. Because this ain't our kingdom. This Esau kingdom. So it's supposed to be happening. Education. Charlotte is a beat. Yeah, watch that documentary. Charlotte is a beat. Go in on that. But a lot of that is more so of how they really don't. They after like 6th grade, 7th grade, they stop teaching this vocabulary. They don't focus in or home in, man, through experience, man. Far as the black schools go, because they got a segregated, they had to segregate in Chicago. I went to all black school. There was only like 2 Puerto Ricans, 2 Puerto Ricans and 1 Mexican, and we had two big ass buildings, man. I went to South Shore, and yeah, as far as education goes, man, they got it to where the teachers get to pass the students along, whether they get passing grades or not, whether they're in class or not, man. Because me personally, I had a choir class that black woman teaching the class. Bitch was always on bullshit and shit, man. So I ended up stopped going to class and shit. Then come the end of the year and shit, I made sure I showed up for that class and shit. She gave me a passing grade. But as I when I came into the truth, I started to figure out that a lot of these teachers have to give passing grades because they, 1, trying to make the principal look good, 2, trying to get the school ratings, 3, they have to pass these kids along, man. because Jake them wouldn't graduate or nothing because of the poverty that we in, man. Because of what? The institutional racism. Institutional racism is not only in these from these society groups, enables Jake from everything, man. They got us also and projects. Housing, as far as housing go, they moved us out to the suburbs, but the white people got us suburbs on top of the suburbs. I forgot the exact term for that, but they make it to where white people get more of everything, and the best teaching, the best education, all that shit, man. That's what they set private schools up for, because Jake. Ain't too many Jakes finna go to no private school. They going to public schools. Public schools, really, everybody know, don't really teach nobody too much of shit. Private schools is the ones that the teachers, the parents have some money, have some goals set about themselves, and want their kids to grow, in their footing, and to get a hold on society, to be from the middle class, upper class, stuff of that nature, man. But yeah, they don't teach us nothing, man. Let me see. If I can get this pen out this book. Let me see. It says. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna make sure I put up some documentaries to go with this, man. But a lot of this research, man, has to be done by the individual. It says in education, among other things, whether implicitly or explicitly expressed, institutional racism occurs when a certain group is targeted and discriminated against, against based upon race, institutional racism, based upon race, right? And everybody know we always been hated against, racially profiled, from the criminal justice system, from employment jobs, from wealth, just being disenfranchised on everything, man. From income, our income don't get us nowhere but check to check. It says institutional racism can go unnoticed as it is as it is not always explicit and can be overlooked. Okay. Right now, this is another far as racial discrimination or institutional racism. This is basically it's supposed to be coming from the Emancipation Proclamation, but I'm gonna break the word up. Emancipate. I'm gonna break the word up. It's emancipate. Emancipation takes you to emancipate. 1620, set free from control. From Latin emancipatus, past participle of emancipare, put a son out of paternal authority. It says put a son out of paternal authority, declare someone free, give up one's authority over. In Roman law, the freeing of a son or wife from the legal authority. Patria potestas, yep, of the pater familias, to make his or her own way in the world, from a simulated form of X, out, away. CX is plus municipare, deliver, transfer or sale. From mancipum, ownership, right? Transfer of ownership, basically. From manus, hand, pyro, from pyro, man, hand, compare, to take. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, the transfer ownership, man, and the transfer ownership was going back to the Emancipation Proclamation, in which I think the Emancipation Proclamation came after the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, it happened during the Civil War, I think in 1861, where the states, the southern states, succeeded from the Union, and they had the big Civil War. And hold on, let me see. All right, this is the Emancipation Proclamation. It says the Emancipation Proclamation was a presidential proclamation and executive order issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863. Right, so it was up in 1863. It says it purported to change the federal legal status of more than 3 million enslaved people in the designated areas of the South from slave to free, although its immediate effect was less. Right, now they did that so Jake them can help can help them fight and bring I don't know if it said it up in this one, and bring the southern states back into the Union to take control of everything, but more so to take control of Jake also, man, for the bigger plot, which was the New World Order, which is another form of institutional racism, because everything is more so, to keep Jake down, man, to take full control of everything. But yeah, I'm going to continue reading. That was just like a little side note. It says, it purported to change the federal legal status of more than 3 million enslaved people in the designated areas of the South from slave to free. And it says, although its immediate effect was less, it had the practical effect that as soon as a slave escaped the control of the federal government by running away or through advances of federal troops, the slave became legally free, in which Jake and them helped join the war, man. Eventually, it reached and liberated all of the designated slaves. It was issued as a war measure during the American Civil War, directed to all of the areas in rebellion and all segments of the executive branch, including the Army and Navy of the United States. Right, so the Emancipation Proclamation was another form of institutionalized racism. To free Jake from the South, bring them into captivity in the North, to work and continue to build up America for the ultimate goal, which was actually the New World Order. But I want to bring out the description on that point before I jump to this next article. This is Psalm chapter 55. Let me see. Yeah, 55 and 21. Okay. It says, Psalm chapter 55, verse 21, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Right, Emancipation Proclamation. Jacob thought they was freed. But war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil. Right, Esau tricked the shit out your ass to make you think that, he was doing something to liberate you and all this extra shit, man. Yet were they drawn swords, right? But his ultimate agenda was to, further put Jake into slavery, because from the transferring of the South to the North up until today, in which the new agenda is the New World Order, and that part of that agenda is to kill off 500 million people, and Jake gonna be a part of that, man. Jake gonna be getting their ass killed off, man. For what? For the New World Order. And which another form of that is RFID chipping everybody to declare themselves as gods, man. See, that's the big agenda. But yeah, okay, I'm jump back into this. The next thing what I was gonna bring out, this is what happened after the Civil War and the Emancipation Proclamation. This is where they actually freed all the slaves, or so-called freed all the slaves, because even then Jacob still was in slavery, and even now today they still got Jake in slavery, man. They just not bringing all the information out. But through the spirit of Yahweh Shai, it says we had to stand on our watch in order to figure this out. You had a woman testifying of that she just now, really recently, kind of got freed. But not only that, you got human trafficking still going on right now today that Jake and them involved in, and they straight slaves, man. But all that news you'll have to get on another date. It says black codes, United States. It says in the United States, the black codes were laws passed by southern states in 1865 and 1866 after the Civil War. These laws had the intent and the effect of restricting African Americans' freedom and of compelling them to work in a labor economy based on low wages, going back to the document, man. Because Jake receives wages. You might as well leave income for the white people. But it says, hold on, I went too far. It says, my bad, Slack. It said these laws had the intent and the effect of restricting African American freedom and of compelling them to work in labor economies based on low wages or debt. So it's still like a form of slavery. They weren't making enough money to get what they needed. But that's still like I said, it's all part of Yahweh Shai's plan also, though, man, because Jake and them sinned against the Lord, man. But that's a curse that was going to be upon us anyway. This is because we still in that situation now today. Haggai chapter 1 verse 6. Ye have sown much, and ye bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough, right? And that's what they were just stating, man. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink, right? We don't bring in too much of nothing, man, to sustain us. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm, right? We don't have enough clothes. Ye earn, and ye that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes, right? So we got holes in our pockets. That's another curse that we under, man. That's why Esau was doing what he was doing. That's the curse, man. It says, or debt, right? Look into debt. Debt bondage, also known as debt slavery. Jake naturally, is in debt, as far as credit cards and all that stuff go, to where they have to work until they pay off their debt or file bankruptcy. But then this society is a debt-based economy where you kind of be needing these credit cards and all that stuff to survive and shit, man. But another form of debt right here, debt bondage, also known as debt slavery or debt labor, is a person's pledge of labor or service as security for the repayment for a debt or other obligation, right? And I brought this up because Jacob don't even understand that they owe the Queen of England. They owe through the Social Security card, man. Right when you're born, you owe $1 million, man, and that's the debt that Jake them don't even know about. But that's another form of institutionalized racism. Because who running the system? Esau. That's why Jake got to work until they damn near die, or work and then die You know, they'd be lucky if they can retire. But in the society we living in now, they can't retire. You know, the ones that retired coming back off retirement, and then they even upped the retirement age, man. So yeah, institutionalized racism. Keep these motherfuckers working, man. But you know, they're not only doing it to us, but it's mainly for us to keep us down because we are the chosen people. The world is given to us to rule next, man. It said the services required to repay the debt may be undefined, so you don't know what type of job you're gonna be working to pay it, you know. And the services and the service duration may be and the service duration may be undefined. Right, until you die. Debt bondage can be passed from generation to generation. And I like this. I'm going to go further into it myself again. But yeah, man, we under straight slavery no matter where we turn. It says black codes were part of a larger pattern of southern whites trying to suppress the new freedom of emancipated African American slaves from freed men. Let me see what this says. It says from the colonial period, colonies and states had passed laws that discriminated against free blacks. In the South, these were generally included in slave codes. The goal was to reduce influence of free blacks, right? That's why it says we're going to be at the neck of our enemies, particularly after slave rebellions because of their potential influence on slaves. Restrictions included prohibiting them from voting, right? Although North Carolina allowed this before 1831, bearing arms, gathering in groups for worship, and learning to read and write. And you know, now today, you know, that's how they was doing it back then. Now today, they got it to where the schools don't teach us the basic principles of actually like living, man. Not just you know doing gym and all that shit, but farming, hunting, you know, real reading and writing. Esau system, they got it so fucked up to where they got the system broke down into what not trigger words, but trigger words, certain words that they use. They got code words. You know, they vocabulary so far enhanced. I keep forgetting the term, but they vocabulary is far more enhanced than Jake's. That we don't understand what they say and when they saying it. You know, they got all types of code words and shit, man. They got Jake based on what they call slang. You know, Jake be making up words and shit. Pig Latin. But they got the proper words, the noble words, man. You know, of this society. They really, to be honest with you, they took our Hebrew away. They took our Hebrew away because that's our real reading and our real writing, and that was a form of socialized institution, man. It says a major purpose of these laws was to preserve slavery. Yep. So I want to drag that out. I'm gonna put up a couple documentaries. What else up here that I can go to? Oh, right here. This is Plessy versus Ferguson, and I got a documentary that's gonna break this down. This is basically segregation. Plessy versus Ferguson, 163 U.S. 537, 1896, was a landmark constitutional law case of the U.S. Supreme Court. It upheld state racial segregation laws for public facilities under the doctrine of separate but equal. All right, man. So I'm gonna let the documentary speak on that. But all right, I'm go ahead and get to some scriptures. This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, like right grievousness which they have prescribed. Right, and Esau did right grievousness and decree unrighteous decrees, man. So the Lord said destruction unto them, man, from the Emancipation Proclamation to segregation laws that they created, man, up until now today with the 501c3 charters, with the three strikes you're out, with the what is it, the Constitution and stuff, man. Esau doesn't have a right to be governing us. You know, our laws, statutes, commandments actually come from the scriptures, man. Let me get that real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 33, verse 22. It said, "For the Lord Yahweh is our Lord, is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. He will save us." Right, Khan. Right. So, you know, we supposed to be up under the law, statutes, commandments, Yahweh Shema Shai, man. Not up under this white man. To turn aside the needy from judgment, right? Because that's what they laws do, man. There's no righteous judgment, man. They letting homosexual run rampant, you know, bestiality run rampant, man. It says, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, right? And our right is to know the truth, man. To be up under, know the law, statutes, commandments. To know who we are, according to the scriptures, man. That widows may be their prey, right? And that they may pray, and that they may rob, slack you, the fatherless. And that's exactly what Esau do, man. It says, and what will ye do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? Right, man. So what you anybody's gonna do when y'all shall come back, man? Right, exactly. Y'all gonna take it, get y'all ass put into slavery. The ones of y'all that's over here in America gonna be destroyed. The fake ass Jews over there in the land of Israel gonna be destroyed. And then there's a lot of other Edomites in these other countries that's gonna be destroyed, man. And the rest of them gonna be put into slavery, man. Why? Because they came up against the Lord's people, man. Not only did Esau do that, you had this you had these other nations do the same shit, man. This is Psalms 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, so, O Most High, hold not thy peace, right, and be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. It says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and yes, they did, and consulted against thy hidden ones, yeah. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, man. And they did that. One way was through the British Mandate of Palestine, you know. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, right? Esau, the white man's number one, and the Ishmaelites, them Arabs, they came against us also, man. That's why they wearing a lot of our attire. Of Moab, right? They took a lot of our inheritance too. And the Hagarenes, them Africans, and we not African, man. Gabal and Ammon, Japanese, and Amalek, them so-called Jews. You see Esau on the list twice. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, right? Ashur also is joined with them. They have Hopland, the children of Lot, Selah. Right. So all the nations, not only Esau came up against us, man, and took things, you know, took parts of our heritage, took a lot of our gold, our silver, and, you know, came together to keep us down and to keep the truth from the world, man. You know, that's why, but it's coming out now. That's why Ahmadinejad said something about it, you know, and other presidents in different countries and said something about it, man. But that's how you know this white man is on his way down. All right, yeah, I'm gonna end it off with that. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into this documentary. But all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai, that my honesty, elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers doing the truth with sincerity. Shalom.
Even though the North was against slavery, they didn't consider African Americans as equals. So racism existed in the North and the South despite the efforts of the Republicans. The Reconstruction era ended in 1877, and the South passed laws to reverse the changes that the Republicans made for African Americans. Now we enter segregation. In 1896, the Supreme Court sanctioned legal separation of the black and white races in the ruling Plessy v. Ferguson. From 1896 to 1964, white and black people were supposedly separate but equal, separate being the only true word in that phrase. Public facilities, restaurants, transportation, and drinking fountains that were designated for African American people were an inconvenience or in poor conditions in comparison to the public property designated for Caucasian people. This created economic, educational, and social disadvantages for African American people. Jim Crow laws were put into place to enforce segregation in the southern states. Segregation in the North was de facto segregation. De facto segregation is not enforced by laws. It happens through widespread individual preferences, sometimes supported with private pressure. De jure segregation is segregation enforced by laws. For example, Jim Crow. The Jim Crow laws was actually based on the previously mentioned Black Codes, which restricted the civil rights and liberties of African Americans. African Americans also had no voice in politics. Measures were taken to prevent African Americans from voting. This point in time during America's history is when institutional racism was at its worst.